Well, hello everybody, and this week we've got, in this little episode, a family tree, or three, and this is the back of what we'd called the creepy forest, but it's not really creepy. Look how beautiful it is in the daytime. So I'm going to start off with Abaq. And if you remember, Abaq, her mate was Wayfarder, and he transitioned last June. Now Abaq asked me last week, she says, "Can you call me Yvette?" Which is lovely really, isn't it? It's just an easier version of her name. So Abaq is 54 at the moment, and she was born in 1967. Now, Wayfarder was born in 1957, and he is just that little bit older than she is, and he passed, or transitioned, if you like, at the age of 63, which is quite young, really. I think there was some kind of disorder, health-wise, with him. So, they, between them, have quite a lot of children. There are 10 children. And the oldest is called Kabim. Beautiful name, and it means leader of lions. Now Kabim is 36, and his chosen path is, he's a magi, which is quite something. And his mate is called Barda. So below him there's Wayfarder Jr., and he is 33, and he sort of creates and maintains portals, the energy portals. Then below him, another male, there is Bafta, and Bafta is 27. Now his name means fearsome warrior. Beautiful names, you know, Bafta, that's beautiful. He is a family archivist. And then next we have a female. She is 25, and her name is Adkadaba, and Adkadaba is a herbalist. Then there's Anku. Now they have like a prefix. Anku is a prefix to something else, another longer part of their name. So there's a lot called Anku, but whatever the prefix is, can have a different name. So with this guy, he's 22, and he is a hunter. That is his main duty, if you like. And his name means gentle river. Now I don't think I mentioned it before, but Adkadaba's name, it means morning dew. So then you've got below that Adaba. Now Adaba, she is 20, and she is learning to be a midwife, much like Mebki. And her name means born at dusk. Beautiful, isn't it? Then there's a male whose name is Edfu, and his name means good heart, and he is going to be an astronomer. He's going to be dealing with astronomy. And then we have a 15-year-old whose name is pronounced as Meeb, M-E-I-B, Meeb, and that means to be fair and thoughtful. And Meeb is going to learn to be a healer. Then we've got a 12-year-old. See, Abaq's got quite young children here as well. And so she has a boy who's 12, and his name is Akkad, A-C-A-D, Akkad, and that means good listener. So he hasn't yet got a chosen path. Then the youngest is 10 years old, and her name is Dasub, which means bright light. Now Abaq Senior, his mate, Abaq Senior, who transitioned in January, his mate was also called Dasub, so you can see where the complementary name is coming from. So she's 10, and that's the youngest. Now Yabadkab is also a grandmother, because Kabim, her oldest, and Barda, by the way, means born under a red sky. So they have 3 children, and all girls. The oldest is 4. Her name is Abada, which means a young tree, and then the next one is 2 years old, and she's named after Yabadkab. And that actually means brightness of the morning sun. And then the very youngest is 6 months old, whose name is Abba, as in the group. So she may be a dancing queen. And that actually means in God's eyes. Beautiful names. So that is Yabadkab and Wayfada's name. So if you hear me referring to Yabadkab as Yvette, that's what she'd like to be called. She'd like to be called Yvette. So we'll call her Yvette. It's fantastic, isn't it? So some of you may be looking at this and thinking, you can see faces in the trees. Well, you can. This is how they present themselves. So I'm going to move on to Daciageia Senior, onto his family. Daciageia and his partner is called Floria. Absolutely stunningly beautiful name. Now, Daciageia, at the moment, he's 75 years old, and his name means mountains of the world. Now, he has a birthday within the next few days, and Floria, his partner, his mate, she's 70, and she's a September birthday, and her name means flower in blossom. Now, Floria originates from Uzbekistan. Very, very beautiful names. So they're quite well travelled, aren't they, really, when you think about this? So their oldest is 46 years old, and it's a female, and as I've explained before, the name Dasub. She's called Dasub, and she's a midwife, and her partner is also from the former Soviet Union, a place called Kazakhstan. Mikalev, his name is Mikalev, and he's 51. So then there was a stillborn child, and that was in 1978. They had a loss. And the next one is 40 years old. And this is a fantastic name. Matakuba. And this is a female. Her name is Matakuba. It's a Tanzanian name. And it means forest dweller in Tanzania. Her chosen path is really, really interesting. I think she's very similar to Athenian in that she is a pathfinder, an astrologer. And her mate is called Hyogyo, and he is from Hungary, and he is 39. So then you've got a male, and he very similar to Sio's name, and it's Sioch, meaning white mountain gold, and he is 37, and he is in the military. Now he has a partner, and her name, this is stunning, her name is Rushkaminov, meaning daughter of Russia. And absolutely beautiful, beautiful name. So then there is a 35-year-old male. Now here we come on to the different endings to the name. His name, sorry about that, folks. His name is Anku Jisanda, and that means strength of nature. And he is the family archivist. He's 35 and he doesn't have a mate yet, but I'm sure there's going to be one on the horizon for him. And then next there is a girl, there is a female, and this female is 33 and her name is Drina, and her name means dawn of the day. And Drina is into plants and nutrition. Now Drina's partner is called Darius, and he's 37 and he is from Syria. That's his origin. Now they are going to have a union ceremony between them. We would refer to it as a marriage in human terms, but obviously they're going to have a ceremony between them, and this will take place in the new moon of July. So that's something really, really to look forward to. So next we have a 30-year-old who has the name Ahochida, meaning fair one. And she's 30, and very much like her namesake, she's taken the names of her teaching, oral history. So the words of their history that come down from family, word of mouth. That's what this Ahochida does. Then there is a 28-year-old, and she is called Marina Dov, green-eyed dove. She is an arborealist to do with trees. So she, very like your bad cab, this is what your bad cab's discipline is they are assigning purpose to the trees. So then you've got a 24-year-old girl called Meeb again, and her name is Fair and Thoughtful, and she does signals. Those signals you see on the ground, she will readjust them if people like me walk all over them and tread on them and all sorts of things. Then got another female. There are only 2 males in this family. It's quite remarkable. And they have 10 children, and they had 1 loss, so it's 11 they would have had. So out of the 10 surviving children, there are only 2 males. So the next one is a female, and her name is Shinwa, and that means sable eyes. And she is a communicator and a linguist between different groups and different species. So she's a communicator and a linguist. And then the youngest is 18 years old, and her name is Astrakama, and she's sort of medical. That's what she wants to be. She hasn't got a path signed properly yet, but she is medical, to do with the energy of re-energizing. Now, there was a funny tale to tell of this. While I was trying to get the names of all of these families, the boys, and believe me, they are funny. These families are funny. The boys, Anku Jisanda, absolutely priceless. When I was asking what Astrakarma does. He pitted in very quickly. She just sits around all day. So I think there's a little bit of head slapping between Astrakarma and him, and apparently it's not undeserved. He can be quite funny, and so they give as much as they get. Isn't it lovely that they should do that? So that is the family of Dasyagea and Floria, and it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful names. The Russian influence in there, in the names, Uzbeks, absolutely amazing, very, very impressive. Lovely, lovely family names. We have the family of Caif and Athenian. And Athenian, what a stunning name that is. Really is, just beautiful name. And Athenian means richness of the soul. And her personality matches that exactly. Beautiful. So Athenian, she's 67. Very much a teacher, very much a teacher. And her birthday was at the start of May. And then we've got Caif, her partner, her mate, and he's 78, and his name means spirit of a mountain. So Athenian tells me that when she does teaching, she teaches, she'll have a group of about 20 children, or young ones, sitting around her, sitting in front of her. And she'll impart whatever knowledge they do, and she'll do that with another teacher, so they'll get like 2 lessons in one. They also have with them, they do field trips as well, so that they can experience things and show them their magic, if you like, because a lot of what these guys do to us is magic. It's just we haven't got the skills. We have not got the skills. So, Caif is the brother, of course, of Edgar, as is Dasyagea, and then Wayfarder, the late Wayfarder, he was also the brother of Edgar. So just to get this into perspective, we'll go through some of their children. And the oldest is called Edgar, and he's 43. And his name means fire in the belly. It's a proper Viking name. That's why there's no R on the end of it. We want to put R's on it, but there's no R. It's Edgar. So, he is a herbalist. Now, his mate is called Framatra, and it means from the love of mother, or a mother. So, beautiful names. Then the next is a female, and she is 40 years old, and her name is Marima, or Marima, means child of Mary. Now she does the grooming for these guys, so when they want to look beautiful for their chicks on a hot date, out to get some apples and peanut butter, she'll do their hair. Now her mate is called Hafez, and he is 44. And his name means kind heart. Then next is a male, and he's 37 years old. Now, his name is Fabagea, father of the world. He is a meteorologist. Now that is very, very special skills, and he will have studied under the guidance, I suspect, of Jacazil. Because she, the oldest member of the family, she was also a meteorologist. So his mate is Sabiba. and her name means sweet hands. 29-year-old. So next we have Janome, and his name means name day of January, and he is a Magi. So he has some pretty special skills as well. So next we then have a stillborn. Every one of these families seems to have a loss. It's quite remarkable, isn't it? So I don't know whether that is the conditions in which they live, or whether there's some genetic thing, or whether that's usual. Maybe with such large families it's just usual. Then we have a girl. She's 29, and her name is Edwina, which is the female version of Edgar. Now, Edwina is going to be a healer. So, she's got a great teacher with a Fenian who can teach her that. Then there are twins, 2 boys. Now, these are a very, very quiet family. They are very quiet. They keep themselves very much to themselves. Full of knowledge, very kind, very generous in what they teach you and what they tell us. So they have 2 twins, born in 1995, and they are 26 years old. And the first one, shall we say, is called Troftia. And that name means quiet and still. And he is in the military. And then there is Gavon, and his name means gentle river. He is also in the military. So there are 3 families there, and these are all the cousins of Abaq. They are on Abaq's generational level. These are all the cousins of Abaq. So if you think of Abaq, Big D, Davigeo, Sarada and Romana, they are cousins to all of these guys. So, quite extensive families, but amazing. I think the names are just beautiful, beautiful names. When you see the names and you see how thoughtful they have been in naming them. Well, welcome everybody, welcome to Winterburn, and as you can see it is tipping down with rain. So I thought I would do this little segment from Winterburn. I was expecting it to be a bit nicer, but it's not. It's chucking it down. Let's have a wander. So we're down here at Winterburn, and I thought I would use this area to tell you about Dasub and Dasub's family. And Dasub is Abaq Senior's only girl. She is the sister of Wayfarder, the late Wayfarder, the late Edgar. She's the sister of Caif, and she's the sister of Daciagea Senior. And Dasub, her name means field of blue flowers. Isn't that wonderful? Field of blue flowers. So I think what they mean by that are bluebells. So Dasub's partner, her mate, He is called Igios. It's a Greek name, and beautiful spelling. Y-G-I-O-W-S. Igios. So, between them, they had 8 children. They now have 6 children. There was a loss of twins, a boy and a girl, stillborn. So their first child, it's a girl, she's 44, and her name is Jamara. J-A-M-A-R-A. Jamara. Beautiful name. And it means heart as pure as a pink sapphire. And her sort of discipline is she's a landswoman. She'll check out the lie of the land. If you imagine here, what the plants are, what the drainage is. Proper landswoman. To see whether they can make it a viable area for them to live, to reside, and just in the caring of the land. Because land needs to be cared for. To make sure that animals, trees, wherever they're going to reside, that people are not taking, like human beings, are not taking too much out of it. So, Jamara's partner, he is called Desigoa, and he is a warrior. He is 48 years old, 4 years older than her, and his name means high standing. So between them, they have 5 girls and 3 boys. They've been busy. They've been busy. In this forest you can see Winterburn. The trees are very different. They're mainly oaks, broadleaf, maple, sycamore, lots and lots of birch. Different type of forest. And this is where Wayfarder and Abaq came quite a lot. Wondering if there's an owl in that hole up there. Quite possible. Desigoa and Jamara, they don't live here. They live about 35 miles north-east of here, which is close enough, I suppose. So next, Dasub and Igios, they have a boy, and he is 41 years old, and he is named after Dasub's brother, Edgar. And his partner, she is 37, and her name is Charolea. Charolea, so I think that might come after the name of an area in France. She's 37. So between them, they have 4 children. And those 4 children are all girls. But they did lose twins. And that was a boy and a girl. These little flowers are beautiful. They look like orchids, but they're not really, and they're called a bugle. They're beautiful. I love the way the raindrops create patterns on the spider webs. Beautiful, isn't it? So the next child that the sub has is a boy, and he is called Dina, D-I-N-A, also a Greek name. He's 39 years old. His name means destiny. And his partner, his mate, is called Madjit, M-A-D-J-I-T, Madjit. And she's 33, I think. Now, they have no children. And he has a speciality in medicinal plants. So the next born is a girl. It's a female, and her name is Washari. And her partner is called Javon. Now Washari is 36 years old. And she is the kind of teacher that teaches the young ones how to mind speak, but also how to mind speak in different languages. I guess the language of other peoples, and it was made clear to me also about other things. So maybe how you speak to other plants or animals, how you communicate with them. I'm not thinking maybe that it's words, probably more to do with type of mind speak that can be understood, imparting thoughts. So it's amazing what you find when you're out walking in the woods. Right across the path. Put my foot beside it so you get an idea of the size. Just in case we could miss it. I'm looking at the size of this oak tree, and I guess it must be about 2.5 meters girth, probably closer to 3 meters girth. So with our oak trees, we always say it's a meter for every 100 years. So this old fella has got to be nearly 300 years old. And somewhere up there is a crow spying. So next we have a female, and she is 34 years old, and her name is Isla, A-A-Y-L-A, Isla. And she has a partner, a mate, who is called Denari. And Denari is 42. And between them, they have 3 little girls. So Isla's discipline, speciality if you like, is in fungi. I wondered if it was foraging, but it's specifically in fungi. Now bear in mind that fungi carries information from one tree root to another. Specific job it has, carries information. So Isla, I think she maintains it, checks everything is as it should be. But also, I mean, food, fungi is a very, very good source of nutrition for them. And I believe that she would resource that, and quite possibly in the same way as we check over food and fungi to make sure that it's edible, it's not going to kill us. I'm quite sure she does the same thing. And just over here, you'll see through the gap some more of those beautiful pink rhododendrons. Now next we have 2 children, both lost, both stillborn, and they were twins, one of each, a boy and a girl, and they would be 32 if they had survived. So next, and not least, the youngest of Dasub's children, and this is Daciagea. Now we have come across his name before. Daciagea is 24, and Daciagea is the young fella that lost his sight while hunting. So he's 24, as I say. He doesn't have a mate yet, and I kind of think that he spends a lot of his time in his essence state. Well, it's been a wonderful walk through Winterburn. It's not often I get to see this. Different trees, broadleaves, and for once it's quiet. There's a railway line not far from here, and a main road, really busy main road. So we have been through all of the elders, and there originally would be Edgar and Wayfarder. Wayfarder would have been the second eldest, Edgar the eldest, and Edgar actually held a kind of a title. Abaq Senior, in their terms, would be classed as a prince. That's like European aristocracy. Sometimes they have kings, but classed as a prince amongst their peoples. And that kind of almost skipped Edgar. He was only for a short time that he took on that, 3 months really. And then it has now gone to Abaq. So Abaq is now the prince. So if you see Abaq wearing a crown, or you see any kind of head adornment, if you look on the screenshots, that's because he's showing us he has a title. And I've seen this for some time, and I have questioned it, and I thought, would he like us to mention it? And I don't think it's out of anything other than to show their titles and how their titles work. So Edgar, he was going to be the oldest out of that generation. This is Abaq, who we talked to. It's his father. So that would have been Edgar and Nahachida. Then there was Wayfarder, who transitioned last June. And Wayfarder, his partner, is Abaq, who actually likes to be known as Yvette. So we maybe need to call her Yvette. And then, I'm going to duck underneath these leaves. And then there's Kaif, and Kaif's partner is Athenian. And next there is Daciagea, and his mate is Floria. And then there's Dasub, the only female really, and her mate is Igios. So fabulous names stemming from all over the world. There are many children, but one of the surprises is the amount of losses, the amount of lost children through stillbirth or whatever the reason is. It's quite surprising. So they do go through quite stressful times. So I'm going to leave it all here from Winterburn, and I've been hopping between Winterburn and moon moth. So I hope you've had a good day today and enjoyed scenery. It's a bit soggy, but who cares? Don't mind when it's warm rain. Well, take care, folks. Be kind in word, thought and deed. Bye!